from that phrase. It's a word in Greek that means his bowels were moved. These intestines. It's where we feel. When we cry from here. When we feel fear fear here. When we feel anger, we feel here. When we feel love, it fills everything. Have you ever had experiences that are so emotionally charged they fill your whole body? That's what that means. He was completely moved. But here's the thing. This is powerful to understand. After healing the guy, it says he was immediately healed. We don't know how long he's had leprosy, but he did get healed. And immediately Jesus sent him away with a strong warning. A warning. Not an instruction. A warning. A warning. Now think about this. He heals the guy and then he warns them. See that you don't tell this to anyone. Don't tell anybody. But go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. Now, in this instruction, Jesus is revealing that the man was Jewish, because this is a Jewish instruction that goes back to the book of Leviticus, that whenever anyone was healed, they were to go to the priest, and the priest would examine them, and if they were healed, the priest would announce that person clean, and that person could worship God again. The priest never healed. The priest simply validated that the person was healed. So the man was a Jewish man that understood this. Jesus gives him a warning. Think about that. The man is healed. He gets a warning. Don't tell anybody. But go show yourself to the priest, so he can validate it, and it will be a testimony that I, through the power of God, healed you. That's the warning. Does it make sense yet? Not really yet. Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. Which is probably what I would do. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. It's a strange thing to end chapter 1. But chapter 1 is filled with the calling. John the Baptist moves according to his calling. Jesus moves according to his calling. He in turn calls people, men, to leave everything and follow him, and calls them to be disciples. And in so doing, in the moving and in the enacting of his call, people are healed. People are healed as a result of the moving of the call. Not healed first, but they're called first. Then things happen. Then they are healed. And what's happening here is Jesus is giving a warning. Here's the warning. Don't get distracted by the powerful movement of God so that you lose touch with your calling. The guy is healed. It's amazing. I can imagine the excitement he feels. But God still has something even bigger for him. Because when Jesus moves, it is such a wide net of this calling that everybody gets wrapped up into it. And the calling lifts up everyone into the seventh heaven, as Paul will say. That there's something greater than even a healing. And it's the calling. Because, the thing is, this guy eventually, his body will wear out and he will die too. But the calling is what is going to give him purpose. The calling is what is going to give his life the power of his destiny, the meaning to be able to overcome any obstacle that comes into his life. It's the calling. And so Jesus is saying, do this first. Go away and show yourself to the priest. It's part of a fulfillment. And the fulfillment was given through all of Scripture that one day, a man would come in the same power of Moses. Remember what was said of him in the synagogue. In the Gospel of John, they said, we found the one that Moses spoke of. And when Moses spoke of the one, he says, after me will come a prophet like me. Listen to him. And that's very different than a priest. In other words, there's two people in Jewish culture that carried on the spiritual movement of God. The prophet and the priest. The priest you were born into by way of your genetics. It was your father's genetic line. It was the lineage of your family that allowed you to be a priest. If you weren't in that lineage, you could never be a priest. But the prophet was anointed. The prophet was chosen outside the system. The prophet carried the movement of God. The priest gave it structure. In every single religious movement, there is structure and there's movement, and both work in conjunction with each other. Jesus moved by way of a prophet. He healed someone, which is a testimony to the institution that he had validity. They were to work together. The institution's sole purpose is to work in conjunction with the Spirit of God by way of the prophet to go out and make a difference in the entire world. It is not to remain stagnant. And that's why Jesus says, go tell them, because this is a fulfillment of everything that has come before me. This is a movement that has been gaining steam. This is a movement that in each generation God has called out people to look for, to be prepared for. So that when the movement does happen, people are prepared and will move according to it. So go show yourself to the priest. Because that's the institution that is in conjunction with the prophet. But the guy didn't do it because he lost the ability to see the bigger picture. And I can see it. It's just human nature. The beginning of the Gospel of John says this, just in case. The beginning of the good news about Jesus Christ. He writes it for the subsequent generations that are called by God, that need discernment into how God is moving them in their calling. He writes this for us so that we don't get distracted. It's easy to get distracted. I get it all the time. Have you ever had this experience? It's just a human thing. I had this happen when I fly, not so much anymore, but I used to do this all the time. I'd be so afraid to fly for a period of time. And I get up in the air and, you have to breathe, right? When you're afraid. My hands would be kind of white, but I didn't know how to do that. And then all of a sudden, we'd be at 34,000, 35,000 feet, and we would hit turbulence. Ever had that experience? And immediately, Lord, if you just get me through the turbulence, I swear I will do this and I will do this. I swear, God, if you just tell me that, if you just get me through this turbulence, I will do this and I will talk to this person. You ever make deals with God? And then you land, it's like, oh, thank God. All right, hey, I have a coffee and I have a roll, and you totally forget about the commitments that you just made to God. There's no depth, there's no real commitment. It's just all superficial in the moment experience. It's not bad. It just doesn't change anything. Jesus goes beyond the in the moment experience and says, you have been called to be part of something much bigger, much bigger. Don't lose focus on it. That's the warning. The warning is that you're going to go off and lose the calling and think that it's just this little healing. And that would be more remarkable in and of itself. The warning is that you're not going to see the bigger picture of what God is doing through this ministry, of recreating the whole world, of tearing down the separation that has been built between man and nation and man and woman and all this stuff. He will tear everything down and heal on a much bigger level than what you can possibly imagine. But you've got to follow the movement and understand the calling. You can't get distracted like he did. There was a man who, some years ago, got married, had a few kids. When the kids were younger, in their early teens, he just left the family, providing a scenario in which there was questioning and a deep hole and a wound that all of the family has carried for many years. And the family grew up and they had their own families, but the wound just kept being persistent. And then the man got sick, and it was a slow, progressive illness that, as it reached its severity, the man then called his children to say how sorry he was for what he did so many years ago. Now let me ask you a question. Would it have been better for the man to be healed of his illness so that he never called his children? Or as the healing comes in the midst of the illness that prompted him for reconciliation? Healing comes in many, many different ways. Many, many different ways. Families carry what the Bible calls curses. What they are is they're violations that happen somewhere along the line, and they just continue down the effects of it. And Jesus came in to say, I'm healing everything. Everything. And not only am I here to heal everything that's been broken. Everything. But you're going to be part of the healing too. You're going to reach out your hand and heal in my name. That's your calling. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted by what may happen over here or what may happen over here. Your calling is greater. It's greater. See, we all have things in our lives that give us the roles that we play. We have careers, we have ages, we have education, we have all that. But in the end, your career will come to an end. And my role as a father eventually will become less and less as my son goes off and